think we were going to be here, but we are. We're live.
You're going to find out how you're not exactly here.
Little technical difficulty with the color today, but anyway, welcome to the show. Jimmy Doane Show here. Today is the 17th day of January 2021, sometime around then. And I'm on the moon, apparently, because I'm in ghost form here or something. I don't know what happened to the color.
Jeez.
But oh well.
That's really amazing. All right, well, it airs Sunday, January 17th, 2021, and it's 68 hours to go.
Mm-hmm.
68 hours.
Drudges counting down the hours.
Counting down the hours. I tell you, I was going to put it in minutes, but here's the deal. Our next show is Wednesday after the inauguration.
Okay.
So at 4 o'clock, we'll know what the deal is. Well, it'll be interesting to see all the riots and everything if they take over the Capitol, if the mobs show up. Just to keep you up to, nothing's changed much on the gold to Krugerrand business. Still, Bitcoin. You can still for your
the Mania capped at 40,000.
Right. Yeah, for one Bitcoin you can get still over 19 Krugerrands, which again anybody that doesn't jump on that is nuts. And also I noticed something that the hashtag, the Twitter, in the process of banning things, has banned the hashtag 1984.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, what? You know that hashtag 1984. Apparently there's...
Sounds like misinformation.
God, well, I don't know. It's just... But anyway, while we're talking about Bitcoins, of course, you know there's a guy in England, in Wales, in the UK. He's offered $70 million to the city council.
Oh, right, this guy.
To dig up the dump.
Yeah.
Where his hard drive that he threw away, or whatever it was, with 7,500 Bitcoins. Yeah. He's offered him a quarter of it. And, which is like $70 million. Now, this is a little dinky town. I don't know what the population is. Let's see here. It's... I don't know. It's in the thousands, not in the tens of thousands. And so the city council has decided to forego, which has got to be probably damn near an annual budget, on a risk. Yes, it's a risk.
Yeah.
But to dig it up and see if they couldn't sift through it and find this guy's drive. And of course, there's a risk because it may be, maybe it was exposed to some earthy magnetic something that erased it anyway, even if they find it.
Sure.
And all that kind of stuff. So. And so they get nothing or 70 million. But what they've said is it's an environmental catastrophe, and so they can't dig it up because because
all the bodies the
bodies, right. The environmental is So that's the panic when they find all the dead bodies.
Yeah.
But I thought they're worried about a huge environmental impact without any guarantee.
Well, wait till it gets to 100,000.
Yeah, well, the other thing, though, is, that's true. The other thing that...
How about 140 million?
Yeah, well, it's one of those things, would you, the old Arab thing in the bar, would you go to bed with me for $50? What kind of woman do you think I am?
Right.
Or you know how that works, okay.
Would you do an environmental disaster for 140 million?
Yeah, 140 million, right, exactly. No, that's right. But again, if for what it's worth, I realize it's probably on city property, but some private guy could, you'd say, I'll dig it up if you get out of the way. If you won't, don't hold me liable.
Yeah, I ain't worried about no environment. No.
Yeah, I'm not worried. You hire an excavator to come in there and dig it up.
Right. Well, how about the dump owners?
Well, the problem is, as is here, more than likely the dump owners is the city. It's over there. They do.
It's still a dude, or
it's still a dude.
I mean, hey, $70 million.
Gotta say, I'm gonna say if I were now, I think if I'm not mistaken, there might be one or two private dumps around in Florida. I'm not sure, but I think there's some dumps.
Oh
there.
yeah, for sure.
And so if somebody came up to you and said, to give it a shot, dig up your dump, and bring out your dead. So anyway, for $70 million, shot at it.
I mean, I was going to say you could just put up a reward sign or something, but then, I mean, if somebody busts in there and finds it, why give it to you? I mean, it'd have to be sort of an official operation to really sift through.
More or less, you'd have to have somebody looking over their shoulder, I suppose. But But then now the other thing you could do, because somebody would have to cash it in. You see, this guy's got the password, of course, to the obviously the hard drive.
Okay, right.
So but my point is, what you could do is what they do up in North Carolina, you know, in the emerald fields up there, whatever it is, you charge $10 to come in and dig around a little bit to see if you can find
Right.
you know, and so 100,000 people show up,
Yeah.
and they're all paying $10 or whatever it is to try and find it.
That's it.
And you tell them if you find this thing,
That's
because
it.
they do. Up in North Carolina, there was a guy. Normally you find a little
Right,
piece
right.
of something this way, but there was a guy here this last year that found I don't know what kind of gem it was, but it was something worth $100,000-$200,000, and
They gave him $50, right?
yeah,
on
get
the
right
spot.
off the top. Yeah. Well, it is interesting because when we were when I went up to Alaska, we did some panning,
Uh-huh.
and in fact, you got they had it. It was all part of the cruise
They're
ship.
out there throwing gold into the river.
No, they didn't. No. But you learned how to pan,
Right.
and we all got a little bit, and then you'd take it to the assay people, and they would weigh it,
Right.
and give you your money.
Right.
And what you do is you pan for this. Now this trip was like $100 or something,
Right.
And I think we got $10-15 worth of gold out of it. Now this was back when, by the way, gold was like $100. So today, on those cruise ships today, of course, you probably can't go because of COVID, but it might be worth to go up there and do a little panning today because, well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I was thinking about the inflation costs, and 100 to 1 in the last 100 years, the dollar's taken the hit.
Right.
Think about that. I mean, the implication there is that in 100 years, you could buy a nice meal at McDonald's for just a few $1,000s.
Right. Whoa, boy, I'll tell you, what a bargain. You lead me to it. And this is the thing that you always worry about. This is something I've always worried about before. You know how they keep changing the money, especially the $100 bills? They've been changed like 5 times in the last 20 years.
Sure.
So if you went into your time machine and went, even 50 years in the future, they look at you and say, what kind of money is this?
Well, like you said, you go to the numismatists. You go down.
Well, maybe, but I don't know what a night.
Look, they solved this problem in H.G. Wells' Time Machine movie.
Well,
okay?
they went back and forth. That's
Well, no. What he did was he had some antiques, like the glasses he was wearing at the time,
yes.
and his watch,
Right.
and some other thing, and they were, of course, in perfect working order,
Right.
and pristine, like new, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's what you do. You have
That's
some-
right. Well, yeah, I get. I'm not sure this
souvenirs.
watch would qualify as an antique, but
It would in 50 years.
yeah, I suppose.
And
you're
especially, like I said, if it worked perfectly, and they'd be like, "Wow, where'd you get the battery for that?" You
Yeah,
know?
right. Yeah.
It's got one of those old antique illegal batteries.
Yeah, that's right.
This is a felony.
That's
I'm
right.
gonna have to confiscate this.
After I confiscate, that's right. So that's that's the only thing that was nice about H.G. Wells is at least was he could go back and forth,
Right.
which is that's the way I'd do it.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to kind of put the one-way thing.
No, I mean, but no, not the one way. Ooh. Suddenly you go up there and there's all the Morlocks or whatever they are.
Yeah,
Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm going back. No,
Correct.
don't need you. Okay, so another thing that is happening, of course, speaking of history, whatever it is, Costco is closing all of its film processing centers.
What's film?
Exactly. To this, as of February 14th, which was like 2-3 days ago,
Uh-huh.
if you'd gone in on,
They still had film processing?
you could go in with a roll of film.
Wow.
A roll of film. Could you please give me the pictures off of this? And they would do it.
Wow.
Not anymore. So
Sounds-
I thought. So that means also no passport photos. You used to be able to go and get passport. I don't know where you're going to get passport.
Well,
I
you
think you can
take
go to
them, I'm
Walgreens.
Yeah.
I think they'll do passport photos, but that's like all they do. I mean, I don't think they do film. I don't know if they do film processing or not. They used to do it kind of automatically. But what's interesting to me is when you look at literally just the last 50 years since you do understand that Kodak invented, mind you, the digital
The
camera.
Kodak?
No, the digital camera.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, in 1970 something, they had the original CCD digital camera that they displayed.
So they put themselves out of business.
Absolutely. I mean, what's this? Yeah, we put it together. It reminds me a little bit of what Park
This sounds
did.
like something that a conglomerate super mega corporation led by an evil business person would surreptitiously bury and never allow to come to light because
Right.
to keep their it's like they always say, oh, people, there's a car that runs on water,
Right,
it's
right.
100 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
The car companies butted all up and suppressed it.
Right, they killed all the people and everything.
Yeah.
So this is the same kind of thing. Clearly, this one got by.
Right,
The
it got by.
the
yeah.
corporate.
Well, there was another one, of course. The
murderers.
other one that got by was the original. The idea for the Macintosh came from PARC, which is the Palo Alto Research Center of Xerox.
Okay.
And when Steve Jobs went up there and looked at it, he says, "Holy smokes!" They had it working. It was all networked there. Everything that you see on a Macintosh today was there in 1979 when he went up there to PARC to look at this, or 81 or whatever. Yeah, 79.
So then what happened?
Then he took it and ran with it. But Xerox, when Xerox tried to go to the higher ups, this is their research center. When they went to the higher ups, the higher ups said, "Look, we're in the photocopy business. That's not going anywhere."
Ain't nobody want no personal computer.
Yeah, no, you gotta
Remember who was it? The IBM guy came out and said we're going to need 5 of them.
Yeah, five of these. This was Watson Senior who said this. They will never need more than 7 of these in the whole
I'm
world.
not sure they should have named the supercomputer after him. No, I'm just kidding.
They did.
I know. That's
Yeah,
it.
right. Okay, right. Yeah, exactly. Way to go. Way to go. So anyway, I just thought this was interesting that as another milestone is that if you want to go to Costco and get your film developed, not anymore. I wonder if even they sell film.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
I think I got a roll around here. I was supposed to get the...
I've still got some. I've still got one of those.
Look at this. Right there.
Yeah, there it is. And it's 400.
Kodak.
Yep.
For the love of... Look at that.
Yep, there you have it.
And now
we
never be
take
developed.
now if we have a time machine, take that with you
Right, exactly.
and see what you know.
right.
Okay.
Pictures of these flying things.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. They'd look at the pictures. Now the pictures would be worth something. Yeah. So I thought the one thing, I'm a ham radio operator, you know that.
You're a ham.
I'm a ham radio operator. I haven't got it all. But I did notice that lonely astronauts living in space use ham radios to connect with strangers on Earth.
Really?
Yeah. It's their call is NA1SS. There's a national, whatever NA is one, and space station. NA1SS is their call. And since they're from their living rooms and pickup trucks, amateur radios can reach out to the International Space Station, circling 240 miles above the Earth. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, he said. And so
Now, what's the frequency that the band?
I don't know. I think there are various frequencies. The guy's got an
Isn't there? What's the CB band? I mean the ham band though.
There are a bunch of ham bands.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. There's like 20 of them. There's what we call 80, 40, 20, 15, 10, 11, 13 meters, and then there's 2 meters and so forth and so on. So when you have normally when you buy what they call a high frequency amateur radio, it's like 4 or 5 ham bands, and their ionosphere is what they do. They bounce off the ionosphere.
Right.
So when that kind of opens up, you can the signals
Get one through there.
Yeah, either they do or don't, depending on the time of day or night or whatever it is, and the sunspots
Right.
and all that stuff. So and of course, the station is zinging over the top
Right.
there. So when you contact the space station, I would imagine it's you maybe get maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then it goes out of reach or something. So but anyway, that's the deal. Could you send me what we used to have in ham radio was something called a QSL card.
Right.
We would mail cards, and not so much anymore.
Could you drop your QSL card out?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Out of the window.
Could you send when you get back here? Could you? Yeah, right. So I thought that was. Personally, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Sounds fun.
May have to get up there and see if I can't contact them. Now, the next thing I've got here is dozens of people on the FBI terrorist watch list came to Washington, D.C. on the day of the riot.
Okay.
They said the revelation marks another example of intelligence failures preceding last week's deadly assault, say the critics. Dozens of people on the terrorist watch list here in Washington for pro-Trump events ended in a chaotic crime rampage when a violent mob stormed the U.S. Capitol.
Oh, at least they didn't say terrorists.
Well, I'm getting to that.
Oh, okay.
The majority of the watch list individuals are suspected white supremacists whose past conduct so alarmed investigators that their names had previously been entered into the National Terrorist Screening Database. And a massive set of names flagged as potential security risk. So who knows? Now that's different apparently from the slightly smaller no-fly list. So, but if you can be on the terrorist list and still...
That sounds bad.
Yeah, and still fly right in.
Here's a video of the guy, furry hat guy. This is the takeover of the Capitol. So...
And there's a cop right back.
Yeah, the cop asked this guy if he needs any medical attention, and the guy says, "No, I'm all good." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I got shot in the face with a." He's talking on the phone to somebody, and they're basically, and he's like, "Oh, can I get you guys to leave the Senate?" And they're like, "Sure, we will. We're not disrespecting. We're just taking care of this place." Basically,
there's the riot.
That's it. This is the takeover of the United States.
Takeover of the United States.
Right.
Well,
fortunately, I mean that was close. You could see.
Yeah, right. Ooh, almost.
I mean, damn.
I feared for my life.
Well, I mean, you can see. I mean, clearly that
Mitch McConnell was running for cover.
Yeah, like, it's so funny. They feared for their lives. Nobody used the guns. Nobody used the Capitol Police, they could have ended it in 1 minute if they'd have shot one person, one girl.
Did.
All right, if they'd have shot two people.
Right, two people.
No, seriously, if they'd have unloaded a clip, I mean.
Well, they do it in the air all the time.
There was tons of cops around there. Look, obviously that wasn't an armed incursion into the Senate chambers.
Yeah. I wonder if the cop there was armed.
I'm sure he was.
Okay, well, again...
I mean, even if he's not, get armed. And, there's got to be guns around there for their protection.
Yeah, well, you'd think, yeah, that's right. Well, anyway, it's interesting you should say. I didn't bring it over here, but in the Atlantic magazine, unfortunately, has devolved into a screaming lefty thing, and they had a very extensive article on the riots and the terrorism and the way they of the 6th of January, and the way they described it in the most hyperbolic terms you can imagine. I mean, if you read that, you'd have thought it was the Arab Spring all over again or something.
Look, I want to be clear here. There is a clear, bright line between convincing someone and inciting someone. Okay, this is what they're conflating here. They're saying Trump incited people to riot. Okay, for incitement to be real, it's an emotional thing. It's emotionally based. It has to be in the moment and at the place that is happening. It's a present time and place type of situation where you rile somebody up and they immediately go do something. That's incitement. Okay. Convincing someone to go do some violence is entirely different and not illegal. If you convince somebody, and I'm not talking about like making a plan with them where you're like, you help them do something. But if you just simply say some words one day and then the next day they go do violence, they were just convinced by you. You don't. That's on them. There's no causal link to the convincing in terms of any sort of legal liability.
Well, of course, it's interesting because this to me falls into the same genre as the video games. Like Steel Car or whatever it is. What is it? What are some?
Right.
So these are what I was incensed by the
video games. The video game out and stole a car.
Stole a car, right?
Right. Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto. Hardly what you'd say is.
Right. Exactly. There's an entire set of activities that has to go on between the video game and the illegal act, and it all takes place in the head of the person who's doing the interpretation. Okay, if you listen to Trump's speech, he actually uses the words peaceful. There's no way that a thinking person, a rational person, any reasonable person could listen to Trump's speech and think he's telling me to attack the Capitol. Okay.
Unreasonable people, obviously, are what we're talking about.
Well, right. They were.
But you understand there was 1 million people on the or thereabouts on the ellipse area that day. They didn't all go
No,
down
they
there.
weren't that many.
Weren't?
No, we showed the
100,000?
video. Maybe 100,000.
Okay.
Maybe 100,000. But I mean, look, if you, and this. I'll just play for 1 second, but there's a video. I mean, this guy who we just saw, he's doing an interview here, and if you listen to him for 1 second, he talks about. We can't hear him, but they can hear him. He talks about his magic and his shamanism, and how he's warding off evil spirits with this garb, and it's like, dude, he's clearly out of his mind. Okay, clearly.
Not a threat, I wouldn't think.
Well, not only that, but he's not a mainstream Republican. You know, you can't, well, apparently
Looks like one.
That's what they're trying to make him out like that's what he is. You know, like it was just Republican. No, it was guys like him that got in just like that. He didn't break down any doors. He walked in with the police officer behind him.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get much less aggressive than that. These guys had no weapons. Yeah, you know, somebody was. The MAGA people are the most armed people on the planet, and you think they were gonna go do a coup without weapons?
Yeah.
I mean, what was there couldn't have been a written plan. I argued with this guy on Twitter. He was like, there was a plan. Like what? Like, and they were like, disrupt the vote. Yeah, well, you can't do that. That lasted for like an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't. You know, disrupting the vote in actuality doesn't actually disrupt the vote. You know, it doesn't.
The vote. Have you noticed that the vote went through?
It went like that night.
Yeah, that night.
Not like the next day or anything.
The whole insurrection or whatever you want to call it, I think from start to finish wasn't more than 3 hours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so and look, again, there were dozens of Capitol Police right outside with weapons. If they wanted to clear the area, they could have cleared the area in 5 minutes. I mean, look, no, without question. Without question. I'm sorry, everyone, we're using live rounds. Boom, 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 boom. Everybody who doesn't want to get shot, leave the area immediately.
Yeah.
And then everybody leaves. You want to see who your insurrectionists are? It's the ones who stay after that. Okay.
Okay. Well,
no, look, I'm not trying to. They all should be. Whoever busted into places should be arrested. You know. But or stole things or whatever. But
they did arrest the guy who was walking out.
They got the lectern guy. Via Getty. His name is Via Getty. Remember the name?
No, God. No, but Via Getty, right. But I mean, it wasn't like he put this under his coat or anything. It's walking out.
No, of course not. And look, and they'll use that in his defense because he's clearly not manifesting the intent to take over the United States.
What he was going to do. Now, here's the deal. The lectern, of course, being the
magic lectern.
The magic lectern. You go outside and you go on the Capitol steps or whatever, and now you're in back. So now you're in control.
But here, the question is, did he have the gavel?
See, good point.
If he didn't have the gavel, I don't think you can make any real laws without the gavel.
Yeah, should have been the gavel.
Right, and I think they need the lectern from the other house too. You know,
well, if you're going to pass laws, you have to go both ways.
That's right. You know, you can't. I mean, so clearly. They need to treat this like it was. It was like any other mob throughout the year, except they didn't use fire. You know, I mean, throughout the year, there was fire set with people in the buildings.
Yeah. You know, they boarded the cops up in some cop place and set fire to it.
Right.
God, you gotta be kidding.
And then the mayor of Seattle's building or Portland, one of the two.
Portland, yeah, I think.
And I mean, you know, that you can make a better argument that that's some kind of attempted murder.
Right.
At least some act that would lead to deadly harm.
You know what's also interesting about that, of course, is as I've seen when these people are they're identifying these people with image recognition, facial recognition, and everything. Okay. What I find interesting is whenever you see the riots in Portland or Seattle, they're all covered up. They're like real terrorists.
Well, you know, and they probably. I mean, if they're smart, they're not carrying their cell phones either, because then that's pinging them wherever they go.
Yeah, well,
especially where the Capitol is.
Yeah.
But But anyway, so I mean, it's just interesting. You don't conflate convincing with incitement, because if I convince you that the United States needs to be attacked, and next week you attack it, that's not on me. That's on you. I didn't say go attack it right now, and the incitement has to be proximate to the harm.
Right.
So
well, that's when you're out in front of the mob and you say, "Let's go get them."
Exactly.
Storming the Bastille.
Exactly. In Trump, the speech that he gave, I think was within walking distance of.
Barely.
Do you know where
it's
it
a hike?
was?
Yeah, it's a hike. It was over. It's on the ellipse. It was a hike to the.
So it's not like you're going to storm over.
No. Let me tell you this much. Most of those people would have been seriously out of breath if they'd run down to the Capitol.
Or would they be taking Ubers though, or would they be walking?
I doubt it, because it's. Can you imagine having 1,000 Ubers? I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, is it, if it's 2.5 miles, then they're not walking. If it's a half a mile, then they're walking.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think
Okay.
it might be a mile.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's certainly closer, and it was in the morning. But, under the obvious, clear legal structure that governs all the laws in the United States, he could not be indicted anywhere for incitement under any theory of any sort of criminal law.
Just you wait.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying, it hadn't happened. Nobody's suggested it. I mean, maybe I don't know.
Lots of suggestions. Let me tell you something. They are waiting until they're saying that on the 21st, the indictments will come showering down, and they're going to perp walk him.
Yeah, well, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, who comes? He'll be defended. It'll be an obvious win for him. And then they'll go after the if he's smart, he'll go after all the prosecutors for malicious prosecution.
Well, who knows? Facebook has suspended its ads for weapon accessories until at least the 22nd. Now, what happens on Facebook is, you can run ads and everything like this. They call it a temporary ban, but on Inauguration Day, they've suspended the ads for weapon accessories and protective equipment out of an abundance of caution. Now they've already prohibited ads for weapons, ammunition, and weapon enhancements like silencers. You can't, when you put an ad in, you can't put an ad in Facebook for silencer.
Right.
But now they are prohibiting ads for gun safes, vests, and gun holsters. Gun safes. Now, prohibiting ads for a gun safe, because what are they thinking? I mean, an abundance of caution. So on the 20th.
We don't want you locking your guns away.
Yeah, no. I mean, so ads for such.
Maybe that would prevent somebody from buying the guns. So that you take away the gun safe, and then they can't. Then they don't feel safe buying the guns, and they don't buy the guns. And because they were going to go do something terroristic, but I didn't feel safe having the guns around without a safe.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to go do my terrorism now, because then how am I going to store the guns when I get back home?
Exactly. So anyway, but I just thought this was an abundance of caution. This is where you're sitting there thinking, Jesus, what are you thinking? But I thought this was interesting.
Not. That's not.
You're right.
That's
a group of U.S. senators.
That's just, what that is? That is bald attack on gun owners.
You wait.
Okay, keep going.
A group of U.S. senators are urging the company, Facebook, to develop and execute a Facebook policy permanently prohibiting advertisements of products primarily designed for use in lethal tactical operations and armed combat.
Next thing you know, they'll stop advertising cigarettes at baseball games.
Yeah, or car races. Yeah.
Or booze on TV.
Yeah, God, can you imagine? No, but I just thought this was interesting that of all the people, the senators now are sitting there saying, you can't advertise any weapons or anything like that. And of course, one of the reasons is that the only reason to have a weapon is to confront the senators. I mean, or the people. In other words, that's what you're talking about, is an armed insurrection.
Well, at the ultimate level.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what the Second Amendment was all about.
Right.
So they want to say, let's get rid of it. Here's the way you get rid of the Second Amendment.
Yeah, but honestly, I don't think that they're that smart. I don't think that the senators who are anti-gun are thinking about having to oppose gun people.
Oh, that's maybe true.
My anti-gun friends, and I have one friend who was president of the National Association for Gun Violence Awareness or something.
Okay.
I mean, you know, she was all into it and everything. And their whole thing is, from in their minds, guns cause violence.
Right.
You know, with
If you lay it on the table.
well, something's going to pick it up and shoot somebody.
Oh, I thought
you know?
maybe the gun was going to pick itself
Well,
up.
no, it's not going to pick itself up, but somebody's going to pick it up, and of course that belies. I mean, that the statistics tell a different story, which is, you know, we have, for every one homicide per year, there are 36,000 guns in the United States. So 35,999 guns are not used in a homicide, and one is used in a homicide every year. That's how much restraint there is out there. But that, you know, they're worried that the guns will jump off the table.
Statistics.
Yeah, I mean, I saw this guy from UK, another one from Canada. They were like, "Oh, you guys are brainwashed. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why does a housewife need this AR-15? You know?" And then and you play them a video of like a mob out in front of the people's houses or something. It's like, you know, there's a pretty good reason. It's the only thing standing between her and. You know, one of those guys, somebody's wife got beat up in the last couple days. Stone's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, Roger Stone, the dude that they perp walked out with the helicopters and submarines and shit out of
at 5 a.m. or something.
Right. Yeah. So somebody beat up his wife.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it just happened. And so.
What, in a restaurant or something?
I don't know. I didn't read. I mean, you know, it just said.
All right, this is not. Well, somebody's got to do a little research on that just to make sure.
Yeah, well, all I'm trying to say is, I mean, clearly she got beat up by somebody.
Yeah.
And she wasn't armed, apparently. So, I mean, you know, and that's a different level of need for the gun, which is personal safety.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the real thing is every few generations, some idiot consolidates all the power, and then a lot of people die. And, you know, so it's safer to have the power decentralized so that nobody gets all the power. And everybody realizes, shit, if you start a war around here, it's going to be tough because everybody's armed to the teeth, you know, so.
Yeah, like in Switzerland. Thousands of COVID-19 vaccines wind up in the garbage because of federal and state guidelines.
Weird.
Really hard to believe. There's some more. I got some more stuff on this, but what happens is apparently
they expired.
Well, not only expired. What happens is once you defrost them, you have to use them within a certain amount of time. So if you don't get the doctor says, "Look, I need an authorization to use these things," and apparently there's a chain of command that you have to go up. According to this guy, the doctor works his way up the hospital.
They got to find an adult somewhere.
Yes. To authorize it, and by the time the written authorization comes down, they're expired, so they have to throw them out. And so they're all, you know, it says, by the time the doctor tracks down the medical team, its shift is over, and following protocol, whatever doses remained are now in the garbage. So, you know,
we wouldn't want to have a fire sale at the end of the day or anything.
Yeah, anybody that walks through here gets vaccinated.
That's it.
Right? Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's so many different ways that the market would handle that if anybody gave a shit.
Yeah.
If anybody could charge for those things, but I guarantee you, obviously, if you rescued a bunch of doses from the garbage,
well,
you'd absolutely be charged with federal.
Well, not only that, let's
penalties.
assume that it's an hour before the due date or the use by date.
Right.
Okay, and you say, look, we're going to have to throw this out unless we start vaccinating anybody who walks by.
Right.
Well, but they're not authorized to get it yet. I mean, we're talking about old people or whoever it is, but you're not in the list.
Right.
Even though, you know, we're going to throw it out. Wait a minute.
I guarantee you they did not build in an emergency exception.
No, that's the whole thing. Is it says they would rather risk a dose going bad than to give it to somebody who isn't scheduled to get a shot.
Well, you know.
I mean, you know, look, you're going to throw it out anyway. I remember when I was over at Publix the other day, and they were gathering up all the food.
Oh yeah.
You know,
they took the chicken from me about a month ago now, but literally, like, I was reaching for it, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, you can't have it." They were like, "It's been out on the thing too long," and I'm like, "Well, like, let me just get my hand on it," you know, and then you won't take it away from me. Nope, it was gone. No way to get it back, and it was like And it was like 30 minutes before closing or something.
Yeah, right.
You know, and
That's what. Yeah, I did the same thing. They were cleaning out all the ones that were supposed to be sold on that day.
Right.
But the day was still there.
Right.
I mean, the point is, it was sell by, and the date, whatever the date was. But like you say,
I'm standing there.
I'm standing there. I did the same thing, and they had this basket.
You can take that chicken home. Like you can take home that fried chicken and literally just stick it in your microwave and leave it there for like 2 days, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, nothing's going to happen to it.
No.
And yet, some regulation.
There's a regulation. That's exactly right. I mean, I was stunned because literally there were stuff in plastic bags that had a sell-by date. That literally this is when the store up here closed at 10 o'clock. I was there at 9:30, and of course, technically, it was good until midnight.
Aha!
Technically, but they had already moved it into the throwaway bin, and
once it touches
and would
the throwaway
touch
bin.
that, and
Yeah.
slap your hand. So I just thought it was interesting. The next thing, of course, we're getting ready for another, the third or fourth lockdown. The new coronavirus variant could become dominant in March, warns the CDC. So the tsunami of new cases could lead to a sharp decline in the quality of care for all. And here's the thing, even if the death rate remains stable, an increase in cases will fuel the already enormous death toll in the country. Now, I'm not quite sure what that means. If the death rate stays stable, will fuel the already enormous. I don't know. You can't have it both ways. It seems to me. It's stable, but it might increase. I don't know. So anyway, this is the way the stories read. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, yeah. Well, it has to be horrible, but it could be so much worse.
It gets. Oh, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I love this. Could be.
Yeah.
Biden. Now, here's the thing. Biden now is really coming up and tripling down on what he's going to do on day one. Apparently, and Ms. Jimmy's all upset.
Well, that's all you got on COVID?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Hold it. Is that all I have on COVID? Wait a minute. Let's see. COVID. Yep.
Okay.
That's what I have on COVID.
Okay, and I guess the only thing I would add to that is there's videos. I mean, Europe's going a little bit crazy with it right now.
I saw in Vienna.
Yeah.
In Vienna, there was like 20,000 people in the street,
and also the people singing in the restaurant.
No.
And the cops came to shut it down, and they were like, "Get the hell out of here!" And then the UK, of course, closed all borders to everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You mean in and out? Do you know?
I
certainly in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you leave the UK?
I mean,
what is it? Is this like East Germany again, where you can't get out?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there was just a headline, so I don't know how developed it was, but it looks like Europe. Like I said before, the crazy thing is, Sweden. Sweden's curve of deaths goes up in March and April, and then it comes back down in June, and then it's flat for July, August, September, and then it's bam! All of a sudden in November, people start dying again like it's a new disease. And I mean, like I said, I would not be at all surprised if they came out and said new variant. They said it was mutating every month or so.
Yeah.
It doesn't take.
Well, the beauty of this is you can have now, and I realize hashtag 1984, you can't use that anymore, but this is for the permanent lockdown. Every 6 months, a new mutation. Now we have to lock down again.
Well, yeah. I'm not sure. I think we may still see a sea change after the inauguration.
Okay, well you're right, and we are now, as I said, we're 68 hours away.
Right.
So we're counting down.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna hold my breath and see what happens a few days after the inauguration.
Well, they are talking about the fact that they are certainly expecting in all 50 state capitals and every place else, and the 50,000 or 25,000 National Guard in Washington D.C. and so forth. They're expecting possibly major riots on the 19th and the 20th in Washington.
It seems weird to me because I presume that they're implying that the MAGA people are going to riot.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, MAGA people are not rioters generally.
They haven't been so far.
You know, and
they're the ones that get rioted on.
Well, right, and not only that, but I mean, they're not. I can't see a bunch of people just sacrificing themselves for no reason. And
If I'm throwing myself on the sword, give me that grenade. I'm going to flop down on it.
yeah, no, not that many. I mean, and so what do you get? I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, there's nothing you can. Like again, you can't take over a state, or you know, it's like. You might as well go out to a field and stick a flag down and say, "I hereby claim the world."
Yeah. Well, we do have a flag.
Right.
We do have a flag on the moon.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. See, that's
And a
the way
flag
you
on-
claim some.
You
That's an
notice
insurrection right
There's
there.
the U.S. flag on the moon.
That's right. So somebody, if they want to go outside and insurrect the world from
Yeah.
their backyard,
Yeah.
then good luck. Then that I can understand. But marching down to a capital, you might as well just go right into the jail. You might as well just keep going.
Yeah.
Check yourself in like
We're
Otis.
yeah. Well, good luck. I just there are not that many jails. Although.
There's one for every capital for sure. There's one right next to it, guaranteed.
Yeah, but I mean, they're going to fill up in a hurry if you start arresting everybody.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
That's when you put up the concentrated barbed wire, stalag, whatever it is.
No, look, this is what we've been saying literally all year. They have to start using live rounds.
Ah.
You fire off a few live rounds, and trust me, 99% of the people will scatter. They will be gone. You will find out if there are any real insurrectionists.
Well,
But let them use some live bullets,
I'm going to tell you a story now.
Okay.
When I was, you've heard of Pamplona.
Yes.
That's the running of the bulls.
Yes.
Now, what happens in Pamplona is every July, I don't know if they're going to do it this year, but I think they canceled it last year. Anyway, the running of the bulls is that it goes for 8 days, Sunday to Sunday, and the bulls run down the streets of Pamplona and into the arena. And there's like a dozen bulls or more, the ones that are going to fight that day, maybe at least a dozen. And the run for the bulls only takes about a minute or two, and the people all run in front of the bulls, and as they're running down there, they're whapping the bull. They really have got guts as far as I'm concerned. Having done this, of course, I chickened out and dove out. But what I did do was this: I noticed when you got into the arena, there's like 5,000 people in the arena, and what they do is they've got
On the floor.
On the floor of the arena, right. And they're standing around and they're cheering and they're hollering at the guy who is sitting up on the gate to let the bulls back in. Well, there's two gates. There's one that has, in back of it are what they call the novelleros. These are the 1-year-old bulls. And they've got wooden balls on their horns. They let one of those out at a time, and this little bull runs around. It's a third the size of the killers, and the people are all out there. The little Spaniards. I mean, these are 10, 12,
It's
14.
basically like a tough cow.
Tough cow, and they're holding up their little handkerchief and they're running around and everything like that. And what you can do, as I was sitting up in the stands watching the whole as it moves around,
Right.
as people are getting out of the way. And then it turns out after they start to incense the guy up there who can open the gate.
Uh-huh.
Remember now, there are two gates. One of the gates has behind it all the bulls that are going to fight that evening. These are the ones that are 1,200 kilos or whatever they are. They've got horns on them that can kill you, can disembowel you. So what happens is they get this guy all riled up, and usually about once during and I happen to be there that day, during the 8 days, he will open up that gate and let one of those big mama, big papa come out.
And this is the equivalent of the police using live rounds.
Boy, you got that right. And I'll tell you, when they opens up that one, the flood.
The hole is a little bigger?
It's the whole place. I mean, you talk about jumping over the gates,
Right.
you talk about jumping over the fences. It's like a tsunami of people flooding out of the place because they know. But there's always a half a dozen idiots who figure that they're going to be the next,
Right.
whatever it is, and they're the ones that get thrown up in the air and gored and everything. You can
And look,
see pictures of that.
This is if This is exactly the lesson that should be taught to the protesters.
Exactly.
You come out, you fire a bunch of rounds off into the air.
That's right.
The 6 idiots that still charge.
Exactly.
You put them down.
That's why I'm telling you this apocryphal story, or a cogent, it's very cool, because I watched it happen. And I mean, I saw people literally tossed up in the air, 20 feet and down there. And
Cash me outside.
Yeah, right. Well, what's interesting, of course, is different. What's different from U.S. rodeos, of course, there are no clowns there to get the bull away from you. You know, you literally have to find a way out of that place, and there's people that get. So this exactly what I'm saying is that when you see that other gate open up, you watch the people. That's like firing the rounds, and they're gone.
Look. We are not going to have law and order restored around the country in any meaningful way until people are told once again that the police have the authority to use live rounds.
Yeah.
You start breaking shit, you start setting shit on fire, you could get shot. I mean, that's the deterrent.
Well, what they're all worried about, I guess, is another Kent State thing.
Well, of course they are. They're worried about overkill. I mean, the whole protest was about police violence to begin with.
Right.
So you don't want, to break it up with some violence, But at the end of the day, you have to. I mean, that the problem that we have, the friction between the police and the citizens, is that there are a bunch of things that the police are authorized to use violence for that they should not be. There are things which individuals would not have authorization in any regular society to use violence against their neighbor for. Like, forcing them to comply with some regulation, or not, drinking alcohol until they're 18, or all kinds of crazy, stupid laws. And those are the things that need to be rolled back and defunded in terms of enforcement. But you have to have the police there ready to enforce shit like people busting into people's property, taking hostages, burning shit down, beating people up. I mean, you have to have force for that, because it would be allowed in an interpersonal interaction.
Right. Well, of course, that's like you say, though. When seconds count, you can call the police, and they'll be there in 10 minutes.
They'll be there in minutes. That's right.
Yeah. Well,
so anyway, I mean, we gotta get back to that, and that'll stop it. So.
Okay, I'm going to move on.
Okay.
Biden outlines plans for a bigger federal role in the COVID-19 vaccinations. He's going to expand the use of the Defense Production Act, which Trump already did that.
Yeah.
That was and the plan he described.
That's how we ended up with a bunch of extra ventilators.
Right. Yeah. Right. So we're going to expand that.
Yeah.
So far involved the Trump administration purchasing and distributing vaccinations were already. The problem was he was relying heavily on the states to administer the shots. But he says this is one of the most challenging operational efforts ever. But you have my word, says Biden, we will manage the hell out of this operation. He says, before adding that he needed funding from Congress to make it happen.
Right.
So we're going to. Now here's the deal. When has the government ever successfully managed the hell out of anything?
The Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, okay. I'm optimistic. I'm convinced the American people are ready to spare no effort and no expense to get this done.
Right, no expense.
No expense, that's right. So he's already, his first step is the 1.9 trillion. He wants to put that on the table.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the
first step.
Yeah.
Only the first step.
Well, of course, that's the bailout. Now, if you think about that number, I mean, we're supposed to get 1,400 from that or something.
1,400.
And obviously, let's say there's 350 million Americans.
Okay.
If each of us got $1,000, that would cost $350 billion.
That's not a trillion.
No, it's not even. It's not even.
Wait a minute,
quarter.
that's not a trillion.
No, I mean that, and so if each of us got $2,000, that would be 700 billion. That would be still only half of the rest of the money they're giving away. Somebody is getting 2 to 3 times what the American people are getting. They're up there debating whether or not the people should get 1,400, which is a quarter of the money, or 2,000, which is a third of the money, and the rest of the money is going to.
Well, no, the rest. Here's the deal. The rest of the money. Let me just see if I've got it here. He says
the lion's share.
The lion's share is going to. increase efforts on manufacturing vaccines. It's going to be federally led and locally focused on public education.
Oh, God.
And he says, here's how it's going to be spent. He's going to spend it on give help to the cities to pay their bills and everything. And
a bunch of cities are in the red because they've been running deficits.
Oh yeah, of course.
States are doing the same. I bet you schools get a bunch of cash.
Schools get a bunch. Yep.
The unemployment
education.
people probably.
Yeah, no, that's right. They're going to do that, and then, but they're also.
But they're all just people. I mean, you can just give the money to the people.
No, the people are going to be satisfied. They're going to be satisfied with their $1,400. What's interesting is there are a lot of people. Of course, the cutoff supposedly is $75,000 a year, and what I find interesting is that I know personally some people that make fewer than $75,000 a year that they get cut almost their share is cut almost in half through some machinations of
mystical accounting.
Yeah, mystical accounting. I mean, wait a minute. I haven't made that kind of money. Why am I out of the 600 that just was there? Yeah. Why am I only getting 250?
Because you po.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you're on the wrong
Anyway, what they're
side.
worried about, investors say the U.S. economy and financial markets could be worse off without. Now, this is the same thing they used in 2008.
Of course.
Yeah, they put a trill, a quick trill in 2008 because we're worried the economy was going to fail if we didn't do it. So we saved the economy.
Right.
And they're using that same thing today.
Yeah. Well, we saved it for months.
Yeah.
And then we had to save it again.
Save it
next year.
Save it, and we're going to
save
it again.
every year until this year when we really had to save it.
Really.
But now that Joe's in, now we're going to save this shit.
Well, not only that, he says because the economy, U.S. economy and financial markets would be much worse off without this first step. Number one.
Hey, for every dollar we spend, we get at least a couple of dollars back.
Right. I've often wondered about that because they do that here a lot of times. They'll say the investment in something here downtown returns such $3,
$17 for every dollar investment.
For every dollar investment. I'm thinking, put the whole budget there then. What? Why are you messing around with any kind?
We'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take you up on that offer.
That's right, exactly. They're worried about what they're worried about, and of course this makes perfect sense. They're worried that the economy might overheat, which is who knows what cause borrowing costs to rise.
Yeah, how about inflate go ahead.
Well, and potentially saddling the U.S. with unsustainable debts like we don't have them already. I mean, the debt that we have is already unsustainable, just waiting for it. Let me tell you, this is Thelma and Louise. Car is off the cliff. Okay, it's unsustainable. That's going to crash.
Well, not if we inflate the shit out of it, obviously. Yeah. And but
I'm sorry. Have you never heard of Zimbabwe?
Have you never heard of Zimbabwe?
Have you never heard of the Third Reich?
It was Rhodesia.
The Weimar Republic. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Well, and so hey, man, we can't let them steal all the.
Well, anyway, he says one of the things he's going to do. He says
money.
He says he wants to put $440 billion of the 1.2 to reeling small businesses, reeling as if they're falling apart, and $20 billion. Think about this: $20 billion, which is like a coin.
Right.
To speed up what he calls the dismal failure of the national vaccination program. And I'm thinking, without warp speed and all this other stuff that happened, you wouldn't have a vaccine. You wouldn't have the first thing yet. If it went through the normal channels,
it'd be another 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, and they got to blame Trump on
Well, that's it. Here. And you're going to hear same thing. They've all done it. I remember when Biden came in, when Obama came in, blamed, and he did rightfully so, blamed a bunch on Bush. We inherited the worst economy on the century, and then when
he was right about that.
Yeah, well, and then when Trump came in, as far as he was concerned, I don't remember exactly.
He was saying that he was talking the game, which is what got him elected.
Yeah.
Which is, look, we need to have sound money again, or something close to it. Let interest rates rise, and the Fed cut this quantitative easing thing. He said all those things leading up to his election. I mean, that's what
they
got
him.
Do
that. Yeah,
I know.
Same thing with Clinton. Clinton in '92, before he was elected, it was his mantra was the economy stupid. I was there.
I remember, and of course that was on the heels. You got to remember, I'm sure you do, of read my lips.
Yeah.
And that was the last time I voted Republican was 1988.
Yeah.
And it was literally because here's a guy, if you can trust any politician, this is supposed to be the most trustworthy one,
Right.
This is HW, he's the war hero, he's the straight shooter, he's not the fast talking whatever.
No.
And he says, read my lips, and within 2 years, he's passing a tax increase.
Boy, I tell you.
And not a small one.
He got bulldozed for that.
Well, and rightly so. I mean, he literally made a promise. I mean, it was the clearest promise that you can make, and then broke it like it was nothing. I mean, and so that obviously should tell you. I mean, there is nothing sacred about that. And,
No.
And unfortunately, that's the problem with being a one-issue voter. If they don't do your issue, well, then you lose everything. And
We got to go.
yeah.
Just a minute, because on that note, the fact is that we've always said, how can you tell when a politician is lying? Their lips are moving.
Yeah.
So here he says, read my lip. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
They were moving there. Huh?
Now the next...
If you can do a ventriloquist one, then maybe
Yeah,
you could
that's a good idea. Two things, of course, that are coming down the pike that there's some people are worried about. The migrant caravan has started back up
Yes,
again.
I love it.
Two of them.
I know.
To a big one. One has just left the Honduras like yesterday, and they're calling on Biden to what he said he was going to do it. And apparently this is the second one. There are some people that says amid fears that a surge at the border when Joe Biden enters office. More than 1,000 Honduran migrants moved into Guatemala on Friday without registering, and this is part of a larger caravan that left Honduran City earlier in the day. So Biden had also promised a pathway to citizenship, and he's going to basically he's going to get rid of the ICE people. Mm-hmm. And it promises to end the asylum cooperative agreements and so forth and so on. So I think it's interesting that they're counting on him to basically start back up again. If you're here illegally, fine. Don't worry about it. Get a driver's license and you can vote.
I hope so. I mean,
I know you do.
Yeah, this to me is one of the most, if not the most important issue facing America, and it is we've got to have massive immigration on the scale that we used to in order to fuel.
Yeah, but you've got to get rid of the safety net.
There's no question.
That's the thing. You can't. If you want to come here, you're on your own.
I agree.
I mean, from scratch one.
Well, I mean, like we talked about last time. I would give them a little homestead, quarter acre or something, but. Other than that, like you said, I mean, you should get no benefits. You should have to waive benefits. That should be the deal. You waive benefits for 5 years and you're in. And
well, that's what they did with the Homestead Act.
Well, I mean,
100 years ago, whenever they had the homes, 150 years ago, that's what they said is you got your property, 20 acres and a mule, whatever the hell it is. But if you don't make it productive, in 5 years you lose it.
To me, that's just a great thing, and I'm hoping that more of these. Caravans come up, but I mean, you look at these. It's amazing to see these images of, I mean, you've got people out here just blocking other people. I mean, and there's all these guys with sticks, and here come the people, and you'll see little kids walking past, little kids like 3 years old and stuff. I mean, barely able to walk. After these guys get pushed back, you'll see a pile of their crap sitting around, which they obviously just left, like shoes and clothes and stuff like that. And it's just like, man, it's really.
Is this down to Guatemala?
This is either on the border of Guatemala and Honduras, or
probably.
I mean, yeah,
it might be Mexico, but it's probably Guatemala.
I can't remember which was which now.
It doesn't really matter, but I mean, the red hats tell you something.
Yeah, so I mean. And it to me, it's just like.
And you can tell it's fairly recent because they're wearing the masks, the COVID masks.
Yeah, this is. I mean,
this is not an archival footage.
Yeah, no, this is supposed to be like yesterday.
Wow.
So, and I mean, they're trying. Look at them. They fall back here and form a line again. They managed to push these guys back. Then the other video. They all get through, and you wonder. I mean, I guess all they got to do is climb through these hills over here. But
yeah.
It's still interesting that some government would put so much effort into. Look at all the crap they leave behind here. You know, I mean, shoes and everything, backpacks.
Jeez.
Just all kinds of stuff. And then you'll see this interesting interaction in 1 second where there's this guy and he's trying to get past this security guy, and it's just one-on-one, you know, and it's like, come on, man, like let me just go by, or I think it's in 1 second here.
What's interesting to me, of course, is how many people have smartphones.
Here it is. This guy just really wants to if he could just go by, you know, and then there's one guy stopping him.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man, I'm just gonna run by you here, okay? You know, but yeah, everybody's got smartphones and they've got little, you know, little digital.
All right, the last thing I've got here, real quick, because we're out of time.
Yeah.
The national, which is great news for a lot of people, I suppose. The National Rifle Association files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Right.
Now, what's happened, of course, is the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, said we're not going to allow the NRA to use this as any other tactic to evade accountability. So what they're worried is that you declare bankruptcy and now all bets are off and everything.
Well, yeah,
they want to go into a nonprofit organization.
Yeah, well, their plan is they're moving to Texas, I think.
Yes.
And so, I mean, my thought is it must be just part of a strategy.
Oh, sure.
So,
yeah.
I mean, accountability, yeah.
Like you're going to get rid of all the people that are members of the NRA. I mean, I don't know, there's until millions of them, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, to me, that's the worst thing the Democrats might try to do is some type of common sense gun control, because I mean, it would backfire, I think, in the biggest way.
Well, you got to realize that there are going to be people. The problem is how do you eliminate the Second Amendment? I mean, they've chipped away at it, but
well, that's why I say common sense.
Yeah.
They chip some more.
Yeah.
You know, you pass the assault weapons ban, you pass a
bump stocks,
right, and the clip fine. You know, if you've got a clip with more than you got to pay $100 and shit like that. You know, and then you just start picking people off. You know, but the problem is that's just going to piss people off. I mean, it's just going to make people more vigilant.
I mean, they were talking about, you know, there was somebody thrown in jail because they found a shell from a bullet when they searched the guy's car.
Yeah, that's a gun under New York law.
I know.
So, you know, like I said, it could get worse. All right, so and here's just a little. We had to touch on one thing, of course, that we didn't have last time, and that is our president was impeached again.
Yes.
Since last time. Now, to me, honestly, you know, you can say whatever you want about this whole thing, but I mean, I've read everything about these impeachments. Dershowitz goes into them in great detail, and there's no legal theory under which he should have been impeached for either of those two things.
Right.
You can't explain how he was impeached other than the fact that the House just gets to vote on it. That's just it. They can impeach you because they didn't like what you had for lunch.
Right.
And call it a high crime or a misdemeanor.
Right.
And nothing anybody can do about it.
Nope.
So we've entered that phase, interestingly. So I think it's dubious. I think it's going to reflect more negatively on the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi than it did on Trump, honestly. You know, they'll I think in the future, and it won't be very long, they'll talk more about the fact that the Pelosi Congress impeached a president twice for no good reason than the fact that it was Donald Trump got impeached twice. I could be wrong, because maybe everybody focuses on the president. You know, you always think about what
I heard they were going to start impeachment proceedings on Biden on the 21st.
Well, good luck with that. You ain't getting nowhere.
No, I know, but I just think it's humorous.
Yeah, well, that's not the humorous part is when there's a switch in the houses in 2 years.
Right.
And then they really actually impeach him for nothing. You know, that's the humor.
Corruption in Chechnya or someplace, or
yeah, right. He made a phone call.
That's right.
Well, and you know, and I would care more about it, except who cares? That is to say,
right. There you go.
You know, this is
Perfect.
one of those. This is one of those where it's like, what's the worst that could happen is we get rotating presidents. You know, and you.
But the beauty is when we get Kamala.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Here's the thing, though. Now, if Kamala's already president.
Oh, that's true
if
too.
they 25th on Joe, or something like that, right? And then don't they get to appoint a new president, or the Senate elects a vice president or something like that?
I don't know how they do on the vice president.
I think it's in the Constitution. I think it's something like the president picks one or something. I mean the Senate picks them or something. But I could
certainly
be wrong.
It seems to me that the new president would probably nominate the new vice president.
Right, because they want to be the same party, unfortunately. I think we should get back to the old days where the loser of the presidential election becomes the vice president. To me, that is much more fun.
Yeah, I know. Fun, yes.
Much more
That's
fun.
right, yeah. That didn't work
Much more
all that
fun.
well. Okay, much. Yeah, that's right. Good. They're going to have fun.
All right, so anyway, but a judge up in Rochester, New York, did allow some restaurants to open who were shut down by municipal order.
Yeah?
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, he did not grant them any rights, like the right to open their freaking business or anything like that.
What'd he do?
He just ruled on the arbitrariness of the rule issued by the municipality.
Okay.
The municipality had said this areas over here are yellow or orange.
Oh, right, yeah,
and
right.
these ones are
Red or whatever.
Exactly, and they were like, what the fuck are you talking about? And the judge was like, well, I understand what you're trying to do here, but you gave nothing other than arbitrary reasons for why. And so therefore the businesses can open. So small pushback, but it's interesting. I mean, it was a group of like 70 restaurants had got together and sued. So at least people are starting to think of taking advantage of the courts to get out from under these onerous municipal orders. So, all right, and then finally, the last thing I'm going to do as we go out here, I want to review very quickly for everybody The Expanse.
Okay.
I told you about it.
Yeah, no, good. At least I'm not going to bring up a West Wing, so you can.
Right.
So you can do The Expanse.
All right, and do The Expanse. Here's the deal, people. The Expanse is awesome for 2.5 seasons. Okay.
Okay.
It is great. Go ahead, watch it. Nice and gritty and good and realistic. They're not afraid to introduce characters and then kill them off right after you get to know. Oh, it's great. They do a good job of they only cheat on the physics things a couple of times. The distances and shit like that. A little bit here. Mostly it's pretty realistic. Doesn't get in the way of the story. But in 2.5 seasons in, there's like a field of sharks, and they start jumping sharks. I mean, the Fonz jumps the shark, and then Richie jumps the shark, and then Joni jumps, and then Mr. C and Mrs. C jumps. It's crazy. I mean, it goes off the rails. So it becomes
Arnold jumps the shark.
Seriously, like it's like all the writers died, but don't worry because they hired all the writers from the Lost series, and then it all of a sudden by the end of season 3 it becomes Stargate, but without Colonel O'Neill,
Right.
who obviously is MacGyver,
Right.
and what made that show.
Well.
And so anyway, unfortunately, I've tried like 4 times to get through the first episode of season 1 at this point, first episode of season 4.
Okay.
For The Expanse. And it's tough. It's like pulling teeth at this point. So I'm hoping it gets better. But up to season 2 and up to the end of up till the war thing happens. That's
Well, it's interesting because I've only started The Expanse myself.
Okay.
As per your thing, so I haven't gotten anywhere near that. But what I have done is I'm on Midsummer Murders, which is a Brit thing that Mrs. Jimmy's crazy about. And each one's about an hour and a half, and they're all convoluted and everything.
Now, where is that on?
It's on now. It's on IMDb.
Oh, okay.
So you have to watch the ads.
Okay.
But Miss Jimmy loves it.
All right. Well, The Expanse is on Amazon Prime.
Right, Amazon. So if you have Prime, you're home free on that one. Yeah.
Free.
Unfortunately, I'm stuck watching Midsummer Murders.
All right. Thanks, Kevin MacLeod, for these tracks. We really appreciate it. Sorry I was green today. Not sure what that's all about. That's what caused us to be late, obviously. Tried to fix it. Made it worse. Anyway, we'll be back on the 20th, on Inauguration Day, the big day.
And we'll be on after the inauguration. So if there's going to be a riot, we'll cover it.
We'll already know.
Yes.
We'll be in the midst of it.
That's right. We'll teleport.
That's right. All right. Let's see. Hey, somebody will watch this. Hey, somebody, hope you're doing well. All right, see you soon.